Hello, welcome to the Daily Practical. I'm your host, Stephen Jekyll, head instructor of the Defend AZ School. With me, I have my co-host, Jeff Walters Sensei from Central Phoenix Aikido, and Scott McPherson of the Defend AZ School. Gentlemen, please say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Here at the Daily Practical, we strive to search for the practical aspects of martial art training. On the show, you're going to hear a tremendous amount of insight as we explore what does this actually mean to be practical in our training. As advertised, we have a two-part show per week. The first episode is going to be a discussion per a related topic. And the second video, part B if you will, is going to be a technique of the week, where each one of our instructors here on the Daily Practical will take turns demonstrating a technique per week. Okay, so with that being said, let's dive into who we are as your hosts, and let's begin with Mr. Scott McPherson.
All right. Hi. Scott McPherson here. I've been doing martial arts for better part of 30 years. Now, I say better part because now and then I had to take a break for family reasons. I have a wife and kids, and just certain seasons of my life I had to drop out, but I always came back. Along the way, I studied a great many martial arts in various depths. Buffet table kind of experience, to make a metaphor. I've trained in various amounts Aikido, two styles of Filipino martial arts, two or three styles of karate, Japanese jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo, Western boxing, Muay Thai, kickboxing, silat, Tai Chi, Kendo. Is probably something I'm forgetting. Along the way there, I got a black belt Shodan in Aikido, working towards my test for second degree, Nidan. The past 6 years and continuing, I've been studying Western boxing. I think it'd be fair to say, unbiased observer would say that I'm competent. There are no ranks, there are no belts in boxing, but I can give and I can take. I know my way around the ring now. Also got a black belt or black belt equivalent, so to speak, in Hochheim's systems, independently of his knife fighting and his stick fighting programs. Both of those, they're drawn largely but not exclusively from Praesus modern Arnis. So that plus my experience in Dosik Pari's Eskrima, that's my background in Filipino martial arts. I love it. What am I missing?
Well, I know that you're also being tested for your Shodan in Isshin Shorin-Jiru Okinawa
That's
Karate.
right.
Kind of a big
That's
one.
right. Yeah. So realistically, it could happen this year, 2021. If it's next year, that's okay too. So yeah, pretty soon here, I'll be able to say I know karate.
All right. Outside of the martial art practice, what do you do for a profession for our listeners to get to know you a little bit better?
By profession, I am a lawyer, licensed in California, Arizona, and the District of Columbia. Primarily, I practice federal tax law, but other things come up here and there as well. In the past, I wrote in whole or in part 33 criminal appellate briefs, or briefs in criminal cases in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. So, aside from primarily being a tax lawyer, I also have experience in criminal law on the defense side.
Very cool. Moving on to Mr. Jeff Walters.
Hello, my name is Jeff Walters. I study Aikido. I've been doing it for approximately 27 years, give or take. I've had a few years off, but I've been consistent over the years. I hold a Nidan rank in Aikido, and I've been dabbling in other martial arts. Steven's been helping me with that. Study karate here and there, and boxing. So my goal is to be a well-rounded martial art. Aikido is my base martial art. So I absolutely love it, and and I'm really excited about doing this daily practical podcast.
And we're excited to have you with us. What is your occupation outside of martial arts?
I am a security alarm consultant. I've been doing that for several years, over 26, 27 years. I help people stay safe in their homes with the security alarm system. We also do small businesses, and it's another passion of mine because I get to help people.
That's awesome. As far as me, again, for those of you who are just joining us, my name is Stephen Jekyll. I'm the head instructor at Defend AZ. I have been doing martial arts now for 17 years. I hold the rank of Yandan or 4th degree black belt in Aikido, a Sandan or 3rd degree black belt in Isshin Shorin Jiru Okinawan Karate, a 2nd degree black belt in the Superfoot kickboxing system, a 1st degree black belt in the Joe Louis fighting systems, a 1st degree black belt in the FEAR Enhanced Accelerated Response system, otherwise known as the FEARS LTD system. I'm also an affiliated Kali instructor. Outside of the martial arts, I am a retired DPS certified private investigator. And martial arts is a huge part of my life. It's something that my father passed on down to me, and the love for it has just continued to grow. So, folks, you have quite an array of hosts here. You have a lawyer, you have a private investigator, and you have a home security personnel. Quite an array here that we all have the same love of Aikido. In fact, all three of us met at the same school in downtown Phoenix, and that's actually where we kind of all began our friendship on that. Excuse me. So, with that being said, let's dive into tonight's topic. Practicality. A concept that I think is obviously either highly overemphasized or, unfortunately, the exact opposite, not taken seriously enough. When most people think of the concept of practicality, they think of, how can I use this directly? They think of, I'm walking down the dark alleyway, I'm about to be mugged, what should I do? I want to know that I can defend myself, those I love, those who are maybe even not even near me, but it's an innocent life. But as we will, I'm sure, discover, the concept of practicality does change by individual. So with that being said, I'm going to pass the torch for his interpretation over to Scott regarding to, how do you view the concept of practicality in your martial arts training, and what have you discovered for that through your personal training?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump on what you just said and throw in a little lawyer speak. The term is void for vagueness. What that means is that the term practical or practicality or whatever variation thereof, it's subject to multiple definitions. And my definition might not be yours, might not be his, might not be the other guy's, and therefore we need to define our terms. I can make an extreme analogy just for illustration purposes. A Marine on the battlefield needs something different than I need as a white collar worker in an air conditioned building. The Marine is on the battlefield is literally in a kill or be killed situation. Me and my air conditioned building was surrounded by other white collar people. I'm not in that situation. So the Marine's definition of practical martial arts is probably going to be different than my definition of practical martial arts in my office. So I know I'm setting up two extreme points, but that's just to illustrate that different people will define it different ways. And now to fill out your question, different people have different needs and different wants, different desires. Not everybody is in the military. Not everybody is a bouncer at a bar. Not anybody, we go down the list of careers where you might actually get in a fight. Not everybody has such a career. I've lived almost my entire life in either Phoenix, Arizona, or Los Angeles County, California. Phoenix is the fifth largest city in the country. Everybody knows Los Angeles. So you think that at some point in my life, I walked down that proverbial dark alley and was mugged at knife point by somebody, and that's never happened in my life. Never has happened to me. So whereas I can respect that somebody else is concerned about being mugged in the proverbial dark alley by knife point, that's not really my life. I have no reason to expect that will happen to me in the future, given that it has not happened yet. I'm 50 years old. So, like I said, I have the black belt equivalent in knife fighting and stick fighting. I do Western boxing. I get punched in the face for grins. So, yes, I can appreciate that being able to defend against an incoming weapon and being able to dodge out of the way when you are punching my nose. Yeah, that's useful. Is that practical in the sense that I'm actually going to do that in real life? For me, the answer is no. Nonetheless, is it practical for other reasons for me in my life? Well, obviously, yes, because I've been doing this for so long. So now, speaking now as someone who's not been in a fight in a dark alley and probably never will be in a fight in a dark alley, what does it mean for the martial arts to be practical to me? And my personal answer is not necessarily the other guy's personal answer. My personal answer is that I want to not be afraid when I'm walking down any street, when I'm in any bar, when I'm going anywhere in Los Angeles or Phoenix or New York City or anywhere. I don't want to be afraid. I don't want to be the timid, nerdy, skinny guy who gets beat up by the big guy with the big, 36-inch biceps. I don't want to have to be afraid. And that ties in with my career as a lawyer. So I know the law. I know my way around the court system. I'm not afraid of you as to procedures. You cannot intimidate me by saying, I'm going to sue you, Scott. I'll just laugh in your face. But what if you're the big guy with 36-inch biceps? That's a different story, right? So I want to not be afraid of you. That's my definition of a practical martial art.
That's very interesting. I know that I'm 100% positive we have viewers out there listening that feel the exact same way, if not have felt that way at one point or another in their training. And with that being said, when you're talking about that whole concept of being afraid, that's one of the benefits I think all training in some way or another does give you. You do gain that sense of confidence, and that's probably one of the biggest aspects that people do look for when they start joining the martial arts. Now passing the torch down to Jeff. Go ahead, buddy. What is your definition of a practical martial art?
Well, what it means to me brings me to a question of that I ask myself, and that's why do I want to be a martial artist? I think growing up, the movies influenced me, all the martial arts movies. But then I also think that I was bullied throughout the years, nothing to a serious degree, just constant bullying. And so I think a combination of those brought me to being a martial art or getting into the martial arts over the years. But now that I've been training all this time in Aikido, I've had to ask myself as an adult, why am I a martial artist at this point, and why did I get into it? And if we're having this discussion about practicality, hence the name Practical, which is a great name because in martial arts, at least I'm going to speak for Aikido. There's a lot of people practicing Aikido who tend to lose that aspect. They're not getting into the practical end of it, and then that would just be personal development. So I can either call myself, say that I'm doing personal development and that's it, or am I a martial artist? Well, I'm a martial artist. Now, I'm not out there to prove that I can beat somebody with my martial art, but I do want to know that's going to work in the moment that I need it. So that's why I'm venturing out more into other arts so that I can figure out what works and what doesn't and apply it to the real world when I need it. But at the same time, I have learned a lot in Aikido about balance, breathing, and a handful of other stuff, posture and so forth. Confidence, definitely confidence, as Scott said. So that's what it means to me is to just what the name says, be able to use it practically.
Very cool. And you bring up an awesome you said an awesome comment right there, that you had to know where, that's why you started branching out to other arts to know what
Yes.
needed to be, I don't want to use the word fixed, but what needed to be added to your training. So it's almost essential that you look at when you train that not all tools in the toolbox are going to be used for the same job. I'm not going to
No.
take a drill
No.
to a nail, or I'm not going to
No.
take a paint scraper for a screw. I'm going to use a screwdriver. Same concept. If I need to strike somebody or strike my opponent, I'm going to choose a striking background. If I'm needing
Correct.
to use a more of a joint immobilization, I'm going to use more of a grappling, and so on and so forth. You can fill in the blanks of that. So it's like you have to. That's why
Correct.
you do need to have multiple tools in there. I really admire you for looking at going into a different ranges for it.
And I also like to say that you want to have multiple tools in your toolbox and know which one to use at the right time. Just like you said about hammering a nail with a drill. Well, that's not even the right tool. But you also don't want to hammer a nail in when it requires a screw or something like that. This is just an analogy, but I think at the moment that you need this particular tool, so it may come from a different martial art than the one I study, that it'll present itself and you'll have that and be able to use it. And after training for so long, you won't even need to think about it. It'll just happen. You'll be able to, block a punch, defer a punch, whatever, and strike at the same time, perhaps, and you won't have to think about it.
I'm getting reminded about something that my fears instructor, Rob Buckland, always says. He says the point of the fears system is to be able to move between systems and styles seamlessly without getting hooked up on their differences. So you may start out with a kickboxing combination that can get in close for a boxing concept or a karate concept, and then take it into a joint maneuver, etc. But you, like you just mentioned, you have to be able to switch almost simultaneously. And in some ways, I think that's honestly where a lot of the martial arts, I think, regardless of training, get stuck at. Not saying that we all need to be MMA stars or have multiple black belts in other arts, but to at least be aware of it. I remember, I think you were at the same seminar that I was at when Saotome Sensei made a comment about if you only know the peaceful side of an art, then you can't choose. You have to have that medium ground. You have to know the most extreme on both sides, so then you can truly choose which side you're going to make consciously.
That's true.
And then as far as my concept for practical martial arts, it's typically about the how do you as a person analyze why you're there. You have to know why. I always believe that a student, before they go into coming into the dojo or coming into the gym, analyze yourself as to why you are training. Are you training for X, Y, or Z reason? I mean, people can come in there saying, I want to become more flexible. I want to learn how to defend myself. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this for the health reasons. I want this to have a social gathering. In that case, I think then all aspects of those are practical. Why? Because it's practical for what the individual needs at that moment.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that's really super important. And as long as you're being honest with yourself as to what are the limitations of your training. So, for example, if I'm saying, okay, I'm going into boxing, but I want to be the future MMA star. Well, okay, boxing's a part of it, but you're going to need something more. You're going to need that grappling. You're going to need so-and-so deal. Or let's take it in an art that we all love, Aikido. Aikido is, I want to say, the primary love in the martial art for all three of us. Saying, okay, I want to be able to redirect my opponent's energy or be able to use a joint lock maneuver on this individual to throw them, to pin them, whatever. However, if I say I don't want to learn any striking whatsoever, I'm setting myself up for an essential failure, because I'm saying I can only use one tool to meet all these different things. I would be saying I can take a hammer and I can scrape paint off the wall. Well, I can, but I'm going to damage the wall. Or I can take a hammer, I can hit the screw. Yeah, but again, I'm going to damage the end product. So if I'm looking at practicality, and yes, I have used my martial arts training to defend myself, both as a private investigator and as someone who had to defend themselves previously. Yes, there is practicality, but you have to be honest with that practicality. Not saying I need to analyze every fighter out there, but I need to be honest with what are the limitations of my art. And when I'm done analyzing that at that level, you experience it, you train with it, and then you experience a new level of practicality. The level of practicality that I started training in Aikido was, I remember seeing the very first Steven Seagal movie, Above the Law.
Me too. That's what got me into Aikido too.
And I remember being this young teenager thinking, oh my God, what just happened? And I remember I searched.
Hard to figure out, huh?
Exactly. And
when you first saw it, it's hard to figure out what he was doing.
I'm like, what is he doing? And then finding out that it was Aikido, I'm like, okay, great. And that's actually something that's really interesting, because at that moment, I thought to myself, this is how all Aikido worked. Needless to say, not the reality of what was there.
No.
Now, granted, all three of us got to train with this really amazing instructor, Tsuneji Sakakibara, who I still consider to be my primary Aikido instructor. And he taught amazing things, but it was completely different than what you saw in that movie. So, again, going in at that level, at that age, saying, I'm going to have to be this practical at this level, this is all that is. Well, come to find out later on, training-wise, for me, I start training and more experience comes into play, and, oh, wow, I'm at a different level of practicality. Now, Aikido is no longer just for self-defense. It's for my own mental awareness, my own mental health.
Okay. There's a lot of layers to Aikido.
Exactly. It's like a cake. And I'm sure that is the exact same way. Actually, I can definitely speak for karate. It's the exact same way. Sure. I'm sure it's the same way with boxing, because, I mean, let's be honest, who hasn't seen like a Rocky Balboa movie and not gotten some form of motivation, especially like the last one, or number 6, where he gives that whole life speech, etc. Yeah. And for those of you who have not seen that, who are listening, I highly recommend it. I want to say it's the 6th movie, and he's having a scene where he's talking to his son about the reality of life and how you just need to keep punching through. And it's like, that's something that, it's a very powerful scene for cinema wise. And I think that my point is this: when you come into the dojo or the school, etc., know what you're looking for, but be willing and open to see it change. And I think that this is actually a very good place to conclude this episode. So, with that being said, thank you all for joining us for the Daily Practical. We, again, have 2 episodes a week. The first one being a discussion podcast type of episode, and the second one being a technique of the week. All right? Well, on that same note, thank you all for joining us. Everyone be safe out there, and most importantly, train practically. Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.